Welcome back to Strides to Solutions. I'm Esther Adams, and today we're diving into an important and complex topic: how chronic stress contributes to neuroinflammation, and why this connection is so central to understanding depression. Most of us are familiar with stress in some form. Acute stress, the kind we feel before a big event or when responding to a sudden challenge, can actually be helpful in small doses. But when stress becomes chronic, lasting for weeks, months, or even years, the impact on the body and brain changes dramatically. Research shows that chronic stress doesn't just affect mood, it can actually alter brain chemistry, immune function, and neural communication in ways that contribute directly to depression. At the heart of this process is the body's stress response system, known as the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or HPA axis. When we're stressed, the HPA axis triggers the release of stress hormones like cortisol. Normally, these hormones help regulate the body and then return to baseline. But under chronic stress, the system becomes dysregulated. The brain stops responding properly to cortisol, and this creates a feedback loop where stress hormones stay elevated. In turn, this fuels the release of pro inflammatory molecules called cytokines. These molecules, like interleukin 1, interleukin 6, and tumor necrosis factor alpha, are key players in neuroinflammation. This inflammation doesn't stay isolated, it affects the blood brain barrier, the protective layer that normally keeps harmful substances out of the brain. Under chronic stress, this barrier weakens, allowing immune cells and inflammatory signals to flood into the brain. Once inside, they activate microglia, the brain's resident immune cells. While microglia are essential for maintaining brain health, their overactivation leads to the release of neurotoxic substances that impair synaptic plasticity, reduce neurogenesis, and disrupt neurotransmitter systems such as serotonin and dopamine. These changes are strongly linked with the emotional, cognitive, and behavioral symptoms of depression. Another important piece of the puzzle is how neuroinflammation impacts specific brain regions. Studies consistently show changes in the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex, areas tied to mood regulation, decision making, and memory. Reduced hippocampal volume and disrupted connections in these regions are frequently observed in people with depression, and chronic stress induced inflammation is a major contributor to those structural changes. Of course, not everyone exposed to chronic stress develops depression. This tells us that resilience, genetics, and environmental factors play significant roles. Social support, healthy coping strategies, and even personality traits like optimism or flexibility can buffer against the effects of chronic stress. On the other hand, isolation, unresolved trauma, or limited coping resources can increase vulnerability. Researchers are also investigating treatments that specifically target neuroinflammation. Anti-inflammatory agents, drugs that calm overactive microglia, and therapies aimed at restoring blood-brain barrier integrity are all being explored. While most of these are still in early stages, they represent a promising frontier for addressing depression, not just at the level of symptoms, but at the root causes embedded in stress biology. So what does this mean for us? First, it highlights the importance of recognizing chronic stress as more than just feeling overwhelmed. It is a physiological state that changes the way the brain and body function. Managing stress through lifestyle practices such as mindfulness, exercise, sleep hygiene, and social connection isn't just about feeling better in the moment. It's about protecting brain health and reducing the risk of long-term depression. Second, it reminds us of the need for compassion toward ourselves and others. When someone is struggling with depression, it isn't simply a matter of willpower or mindset. It may be the outcome of deeply rooted biological processes triggered by prolonged stress. Recognizing this can shift how we respond, with patience, understanding, and support rather than judgment. As research continues, one thing becomes clear: the bridge between chronic stress, neuroinflammation, and depression is real, and it underscores the profound connection between mind and body. By addressing stress early, Building resilience and supporting one another, we can create pathways to both prevention and healing. Thank you for joining me today on Strides to Solutions. Until next time, remember, caring for your stress is caring for your brain, your body, and your future well being.